Hello, and welcome to Walking Skull, episode 9. Hey, this is the usual podcast where I'm changing it around and I'm not introducing Sean till we get to there, but we'll get to there eventually. This is the podcast where me and my friend Sean Scully, who is the skull part of the Walking Skull and waving in the bit, even though I've just introduced him.
I'm
Say
sorry.
hello,
I'm just
Sean.
very hello. I'm sorry. I'm just very excited. I've had like two lattes today, and I'm feeling pretty buzzed and pretty good. So it's just the effects of like recording a podcast in the middle of like a life or death pandemic. So you just get excited with the interactions and whatnot when you can.
Yeah, and I am your other co-host, Martin Walker. Hello. I'm the walking part of the Walking Skull because we were that original. We just mixed our two names together, and that's how
It's
that worked.
it's very original. And before we go on, I must say your part when you start went, I'm the walking part is kind of seductive. I must say this is a really good way to get viewers.
If only we had listeners.
I mean, we do. And if you are listening, thank you very much. We greatly appreciate it. Just make sure to share the podcast all around and whatnot, because we're quite,
Because we're shills,
uh,
basically.
yeah, yeah, we're
Like
shills.
like everyone else in the world, we're not doing anything for free.
So, Martin, tell us wait. You already told us what we do with the podcast.
And I'll go over it again just for the benefit of Sean, who's also been here for long enough, where he should know what's happening. This is a podcast where every 2 to 3 weeks, depending on my work schedule and depending on how busy Sean is, we talk about the movies we've watched in the last 2 to 3 weeks. It's quite interesting to somebody. We've got at least a handful of views, so somebody's listening. If it's you, say hello. We're waiting for you now. Fine, don't say
Right,
hello then.
pretty
Right,
cool.
and
So,
we are also dealing with fighting the internet. So if there's a point where we talk over each other, just remember we're not professional and that I have borders level
no,
internet,
and neither is
which
the
is normal
Wi-Fi.
rubbish. But yes, let's give it a start. I'll let Sean talk
Mm,
now. So Sean, what have you been
yeah.
watching
So,
over the last
that's
couple of weeks?
oh well. I've array of stuff. I did a lot of rewatches, but I think the main thing I want to talk about today is I recently, well, not recently. I think a while back, right before we're going to record it. I watched Malcolm and Marie with John David Washington, Zendaya, and directed by Sam, son of Barry Levinson. About a couple that go in a massive argument, a director and an actress to be specific. And it's a movie that doesn't really have a massive plot to it. It's just basically that concept and stretched to like an hour and 45 minutes. Controversial movie because it's a movie written and directed by a white guy. And in the script, it's there's a lot of like stuff regarding a lot of black filmmaker issues in the film industry and like sprouted by written by a white man, which is Sam Livingston, and a lot of other stuff that's kind of controversial. But basically, it's kind of a weird film where like someone's going to be upset over something about it, which is very valid. Don't get me wrong. I'm not going to be here and be like, oh, I mean, it's valid. Come on. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and be like, hey, don't be upset over the very reasonable thing to be upset about. How dare you be quiet and enjoy the thing, you shill. It's just anyway. So regard regardless of the controversy of Malcolm and Marie, I kind of liked it. Like I if there was two things about it that I really would recommend to a lot of people, David Washington and Zendaya, like genuinely, they're pretty amazing in the movie. Like both of their performances are just outstanding in this way where like they're not trying to upstage each other in this sort of like way. It's more they both are flowing equally in this sort of before in this like these performances where like one will get their time turn in the spotlight and then one will get their turn in the spotlight, and it's very good to watch these two just act. I mean, it's the sort of like a movie that always that appeals to me. Where just it's set in one location. There's a pretty uh, uh, chunky script, not filled with nothing but dialogue, and the acting is very good. It just gives the people it's more of a writing and the acting challenge more than anything. And I just loved watching these two just do their thing. And there's also a really good scene with there's a very memorable. I wouldn't really call it good. I'm still a bit mixed on it because I don't but maybe I don't know. And there's a scene where John Washington is like ranting about someone giving a positive review, and it's kind of the most amazing one of those like rants where it's like, oh, go on, King, don't hold back, tell us how you feel. And it's again, there were two reasons why I highly recommend it. It's mostly for Zendaya, and I recommend the film. Um, I mean, I liked it, but not to like the enthusiastic degree that I thought I was going to probably give it. A movie that is trying to say a lot, but there's a couple of things it ends up managing to sort of like squeak out. And look, can you elaborate, please? And it just sort of sits their arm, and they just sort of like sits their arm folded, like I don't know, you get what I'm trying to say. And I'm like, I don't know what you're trying to say here, bud. You're kind of yelling at me, and I don't get it. Stop it, please. Tell me what's wrong.
This is another one of those movies where I can't really say too much because I've not seen it yet. Tell everyone where you watched it, Sean.
Oh, where I watched it on Netflix because I think it was I think either Netflix picked up after they done filming or just it was one of those things where like, hey, we're gonna make a movie for Netflix called Malcolm Marie. It's gonna be pretty good. But yeah, if anyone want, but yeah, like I say, there's definitely like I think at this point now the controversy's kind of died down. It kind of became one of those like topic of conversations for like a week or two, and then everyone kind of just kind of moved on. So if you want to check it out, to see what all the fuss is about, it's worth checking out just because like it's one of those films where you kind of have to have your say on it. And if you don't like it for very valid reasons and whatnot, that's completely fine. Like I say, I like it, but not to the weird degree where I'm gonna stand here and defend it and be like, well, you know, you've got to have a degree in film studies to get what's really going on because it's not that kind of film. It really isn't. It's pretty much just written by a guy and directed by a guy who need to get something off his chest. Some I get, some I don't.
He
And
needed to get an argument off his chest from between him and his wife, and he just decided to cast actors for it. Basically, he was like, "This is just a real life argument I had with my wife. I couldn't say all this stuff, so why not hire some multi-million-dollar actors and actresses to give it a go?"
I mean, probably, but the whole there's a like I say as before there's a rant that like David Washington goes on to about like critics and like interpretations of like art and whatnot. So it's more and there was a controversy regarding like a review by the LA Times about his previous film Assassination Nation, which is very good. I love that movie, but this particular review wasn't really too hot about it, and people are like speculate a little bit, maybe not speculate, but there's a sort of clear thing where that review and that critic that the character is talking about is like the real like reviewer of that film, and a lot of people are kind of like, oh, how dare you? Wow, that's very petty of you and whatnot. And I'm like, I mean, don't get me wrong. I kind of you could probably be talking about anyone, but at the same time, like I say, is with the film, there's some stuff that I kind of get where it's like, oh yeah, I get what you're trying to say, and some where it's like, I don't know what you're getting at here, dude. I mean, come on. But not to end up repeating myself because I'm going to do that. I'm very guilty of this. I really liked it. I would honestly recommend it. And if anyone who didn't like it tries sort of like is looking for a defense of me, looking for me to defend it, I honestly can't defend it just because there's very valid reasons why people don't like it, and I honestly just like it because there's elements of it that appeal to me. But do watch it for John David Washington and Dyer. They're both very good in this movie. Just
But unfortunately, Sean's opinion means nothing because he likes The Last Jedi. So on the internet, that means he's gone. Your opinion means absolutely nothing, Sean.
You've sussed me out.
Yeah.
Oh no, my ego has been bruised.
Yeah. We don't. The whole point of these episodes is just to call you out, Sean, on the movie. On a movie I really couldn't care about.
Oh my god, you bruised my ego. I don't know I'm gonna recover from this. I really don't. Oh no, I'm so sorry. So tell me, Martin, what have you been watching recently?
I went back in time again because as I am prone to do so, and on Amazon Prime, the great film, and I mean great film at this moment because I have now seen it, Attack the Block came out. I couldn't obviously vote.
You heard it here, ladies and gentlemen. A great film is now great because Martin Walker has seen it.
Yeah.
Hold off.
There's some films that I don't really try hard to watch, and I just tell people it's all right. But I've watched this film. I can actually tell you it's a good film.
That's good. I mean, I'm glad you brought it up because I've seen this movie a bunch of times. And it's really, really good. So I can definitely concur. But remember, folks, if you have a good movie that you think is great, you have to hold off on that. You've got to wait till
You,
Martin Walker here has seen it. Then it'll be clarified as great.
yeah, you've got to let me watch it first, and then I'm your decider.
Yeah, then it's great. Basically, Martin here is like Mark Commode. He's the ultimate authority.
But it is a film for film, which is the as many F's as you can fit into that sentence. They've tried, where a teen gang in South London has to defend their block from an alien invasion, and the cast list on this is just amazing. It's I minus obviously say Nick Frost, and I don't think Whittaker was as high as she was now. I
I
could
mean,
be wrong.
she was doing like a lot of different like parts back in the day, but I think this is one of the big films that kind of got noticed. That and including like probably now one of the biggest stars out there. Like it was the first like major film of John Boyega's.
Yeah, I was just going to get to that. It's John Boyega's in it, and as the IMDb thing only does it in one sentence, but there's not that much that you could be said more to it. It's a great film.
Yeah.
I I really enjoyed it. I loved the design of it all. I loved the aliens are amazing throughout it. The aliens are the creepiest thing in the world, and I love it because this doesn't spoil the film, but it
Mhm.
might make people who are a bit more of scared when it comes to alien stuff. But the monsters are, say, about tiger size, jet black, covered in fluff, with
Mhm.
luminous teeth. And it's the luminous teeth that really freak you out because you've got
Mhm.
they work it well. Basically, it's like aliens in a thing. They know they've only got a handful of costumes. They know how to use them though. Fortunately,
Yeah,
where
like the fact they managed to like create these like incredible like designs on a relatively small budget is kind of genius. Just because there's not too much going on, but they're just these big hairy creatures, these really frightening looking teeth, and it's kind of incredible how they managed to pull that off of like a relatively small budget.
yeah, and you think it's just going to be another alien type film where it's just the one chasing them down? Because this isn't really spoilers because it happens within the first 10 minutes of the film. An alien comes down, and then John Boyega and his crew, who are self-declared chavs of South London in this
Mhm.
film, beat the shit out of it. And it's quite funny how that happens. All the other casts, the rest of his team, I've not really seen a lot of them in a much, but
Mhm.
uh, what's his name? Franz Drami, who plays Dennis in it,
Yeah,
is now slightly more well known for being in the CW series The Flash and Legends of Tomorrow, where he played Firestorm. And I think he's great in it. Obviously, he's doing an American accent, so I didn't realize he was British until I watched this film and looked it up.
really.
Yeah, he does a really really good American accent. And thinking about it from watching Legends of Tomorrow, there is one where he does a British accent that I went, "Oh, that's a really good British accent." Didn't realize that it was because he was a Brit himself.
That's the power of British actors, man. They're so good at American accents that it's kind of deceiving. You listen, like you watch someone in like a movie, and you're like, "Wow, this is a pretty good British accent from this American actor, totally American actor." Then you find out they're from England, and you're like, "What the fuck, dude? What? Don't do this to me. That blows my mind."
Yeah, I don't really say. I know this is obviously where we talk about it. I don't really want to say too much more because it's a film that I recommend you watch if you've not. It's free on Amazon Prime until I think the 20th of March. If
Mhm.
you it's maybe an hour and a half to 2 hours. It won't
Hour
take
and
a
a
lot out of
half.
your day, yeah.
Yeah.
But Jodie Whittaker's great in it because she's great in everything, basically. I don't think I've seen
Hmm.
something that she's bad in. The rest of the cast are smaller named people, but they all do their work. Who's the guy that runs the place? Well, runs in quotes, the gangster guy.
Oh, I don't remember the name of the
Uh,
actor or the character, but he was quite a menacing villain. I love how like you have like not only these aliens to deal with, but this like really terrifying psychotic gangster you have to deal with, and he does a really good job in the movie.
I think his name was it Biggs.
Probably.
Unfortunately, IMDb does not have a picture of the gentleman, so I cannot tell you if that is the gentleman.
Thanks, IMDb. You're so helpful.
I'll have a look while Sean vamps.
Yeah, I can concur with Martin on this one that the Attack the Block is very, very good. It's an hour and a half, a fun little sci-fi feature that also has some like very well done emotional beats. Because I remember like watching it, I wasn't really expecting it to be like that emotional. I honestly thought it was gonna be like some sort of like big wacky alien comedy involving like these South London chavs, but it's a lot more poignant than you give it credit for. Like there's like 3 or 4 scenes where like when like certain things will happen and they will ponder on it for like a good couple of minutes, and you're like, oh Jesus, okay, this is real. What's going on here is pretty real. Like it's got that, and I don't want to compare it because I don't want to compare it to like Shaun of the Dead because you've got like Edgar Wright producing it and Nick Frost in it, but kind of have to because it's kind of a good parallel. Never mind that. Anyway, so
Parallel.
thank you, Martin. It's a because Shaun of the Dead starts. It looks like one of those deceivingly like silly zombie comedies, and then it turns into something a lot more profound and kind of like interesting. Attack the Block kind of has that sort of like similar thing going on with it, and it's very well done. And
Do you think it's going to be Shaun of the Dead esque, where you think it's just going to be dramatized stuff, but with more hilarity in it rather than anything else? But it covers quite a bit. I have found the gentleman's name,
mhm.
and it was the character was called High Hats.
There we go.
And the reason why I didn't make fun of you for saying parallel is that I am going to completely butcher this gentleman's first name, where it is I want to say Jermaine spelt differently, where it is Jumayn
Mhm.
Hunter. He has also been in Dom Hemingway, Eden Lake, and Cherry Tree Lane.
Oh,
And so I might give purely on how he acted in this. I might give one of those films a shot because I thought he was
yeah.
really good in this.
I never seen the other two, but Dom Hemingway I've seen, and I don't remember him being in it, but I could definitely recommend it because was pretty fun, and Jude Law is very good in it. That's kind of all I have all about Dom Hemingway.
He
Um,
played Lester in it, if that means anything for you.
no, not really. I remember I mostly remember like Jude Law and Richard E. Grant being in it, and the two of them being like quite the hilarious duo. But besides that, don't have anything else to say about our friend here on that one.
It's one of those films that I liked the ending. I liked it throughout, to be honest. I was initially freaked out by the monster, but I enjoyed it throughout. And I'm gonna let Sean vamp a little bit more because I need to plug in my laptop before it dies.
All right, you go ahead and do that. So yeah, Attack the Block is very, very good. I'm going off my memory. I've seen it like about 4 or 5 times. Like it's definitely one of those ones that like I probably might have in my. I don't know. I probably put it in my collection or something. I don't know. Either way, it's very, very good. John Boyega is fantastic in it. In fact, all of the cast is very good. And it kind of makes me sad that Joe Cornish didn't really do anything else afterward. Like he directed like what's the name of the movie? It had the kid. It was about the kid who who ends up like fighting a dragon from King Arthur times, and Merlin's there. I don't remember the name of the movie,
uh,
but
I'm back. Laptop's plugged in.
that's good.
Is it maybe The Kid Who Would Be King? I want to say
I,
that's the title. It was a
yeah,
big title.
yeah. It was like those are the only names I can think of. Kid and King, and I couldn't remember like the other name of the film. So I think it's the Kid Who Would Be King. Which is a shame that
Yes, it's got Circus's kid in it.
There we go. It's a shame that like Joe Cornish has like directed 2 films, that one and Attack the Block, because he's a very good director, and it kind of sucks that like he never like he's only directed 2 films, and I'm pretty sure like Kid Would Be King flopped, while Attack the Block I think that became a moderate success. But either way, I think Joe Cornish deserves like the world after making Attack the Block because it's a very great little film, and I think like it's going to be viewed. It's hopefully going to be viewed in high regard a lot more thanks to like John Boyega's now regarded star power. So that's going to be really good.
Uh, if I remember correctly, because this came out while I was working in the cinema, I think it came out maybe a month or two before Endgame. So I think that's maybe
Yeah.
what hampered it
Hmm.
because it came out. February. I'm looking it up now. Yeah, February 2019. So it was maybe it was a couple months before. I think it still had a decent enough run, but I don't think it could have went the full way because Endgame came out that April.
Oh, for sure. Like I remember seeing it and enjoying it enough. But I did I did hope it was going to be like a somewhat of a bigger deal. But obviously, it didn't become that much of a bigger deal, and that's very sad.
But from what we're talking about, the kid who would be king now. From what I remember, it was quite good.
Yeah.
But with Joe Cornish only doing the 2 films, I think he's maybe writing more,
Hmm.
which is always a good thing. Or maybe he's went, I've done my 2. I don't need to do it anymore.
Oh well. Either way, I think Joe Cornish should be doing more stuff, and I think Attack the Block is a pretty good way to start off. Yes, sir. Sorry, I saw your finger up.
He, how much more has he written? He was part writer on Ant-Man. He did, he's written quite a few,
Mhm.
but directing it, he has not. He
Oh
also
well.
did Tintin, which would explain the humor sort of thing. The humor's all kind of the same in those films. Maybe Ant-Man's a bit more Americanized, but the rest of it's quite good.
Yeah. Oh, eventually, well, Ant-Man, I probably won't go into detail because we've got other things we need to talk about. But either way, Edgar Wright and Joe Cornish wrote an original draft for Ant-Man before the MCU thing happened, and then one thing led to another. Edgar Wright dropped out of the project, and they got Pete and Reed to do it, and they kept the first draft that Edgar and Joe wrote, and then Anna became Paul Rudd, I believe, came in and redid the script. I say Paul. In fact, hold on, I'm just gonna quickly check because I have the Blu-ray in front of me.
I'll also say that weirdly, he directed the documentary of Making of Little Britain.
Okay, I don't know
I
why you'd
did.
probably put that on your CV.
Well, this is IMDb. They put anything in it.
Nah. Also, I took a look at the thing, and yeah, Anna McKay and Paul Rudd definitely wrote another draft of the screenplay for Ant Man. I mean, at least he kept names in there. But either way, we should probably move on because I think we're losing track.
We are losing track, but this is what happens. This is how we go over an hour several times. From the look of it, last thing on Joe Cornish, Attack the Block was his first movie. Everything
Mm,
before that, he did episodes of TV shows.
mm. I think he did a show of what's his face? He was in the Hot Fuzz. I think he had his head caved in by that giant piece of the church. He has a podcast as well, still with the church piece in his head. Adam something or other.
The Adam and Joe Show, by any chance?
Yeah, I can't remember the name, but his name's Adam. He has a podcast.
I'm looking at it. The only other thing he's directed, other than right, this is a Joe Cornish podcast for the next 2 seconds. He has directed The Kid Who Would Be King, Attack the Block, are his 2 films.
Mhm.
TV show wise, he's done Blunder. He did the pilot. He did Comedy Lab, an episode called Modern Toss, whatever that means. He did the documentary of Making of Little Britain 2, spelled 200, because I didn't realize there was a second Little Britain. And then he did 22 episodes of The Adam and Joe Show.
Hmm. Well, that's
So
interesting.
probably the full series, I'd assume.
Probably. I think it had 1 or 2 seasons. I can't remember. I never watched it, but it was a big thing in the either the 90s or 2000s. It was how those two got their start.
But anyway, that was our podcast within a podcast, the Joe Cornish podcast. We hope you like it. We call
We're
it
gonna
the
call.
Cornish Pasty podcast because we're a big fan of Joe Cornish.
I was going to call it the Cornish Mysteries, but all right.
It was the first thing that came to my mind, and I said it first, so that's what the title.
Oh, fine. That's what we're gonna call it, but we have to make it all noirish and intense. What's it called? The Nourish Pastry Podcast?
The Cornish Pasty podcast. Do
Pasty
you
is.
not know what a Cornish pasty is?
I imagine it's some sort of
Have you never had a
pastry.
Cornish pasty, Sean?
No, I don't
This
think
has
so.
literally become a Cornish pasty podcast. Right. When the world's not on fire and when we are living closer together, we're
Mhm.
getting a Cornish pasty for you. To be honest, don't hype it up. It's not that great.
All right. I imagine when we get to Greg's or something, they'll have it. I try it, and it's like, this is okay. Probably
It's
move on for a while.
it's like anything else, to be honest. It's flaky pastry and meat.
I mean, it'd be a good way to end off the pandemic. Just going to a Greg's, buy a Cornish pastry, take a massive chunk, look at the other person in front of you, and go, "This is okay." Roll credits.
He'll say, "This is okay," and the staff will go, "Can you please leave?" And then that'll be they'll go, "We normally don't like a review straight away, but if you'd like to go home and do a Google one, that's fine."
All right. Anyway, Attack the Block. Yes, it's very good. Go on.
Yeah, Attack the Block's very good. It's currently free on Amazon Prime. It's directed by the amazing George Cornish, who's done a handful of things and is really good. Currently, his track record's quite good, and if you've not had a Cornish pasty, give it a shot. That's the last 10 minutes of there. We've done a recap. Well, that was our other podcast within a podcast. That's where we recap what we said the last 10 minutes ago.
If you want to sign up for the Joe Cornish Cornish pastry fan club, we'll get those signed up by the way.
We've got, if you want to join our Patreon, we don't have one, but if you want to join one that involves Cornish and pasty, give them a $5 just for the sake of it, sure.
And sign up to our newsletter, www.joeandcornishpastry.com/Joseph Pastry Cornish. U.uk.
If you want to sign up one of your mates for a newsletter that's quite funny, sign them up for Breitbart newsletters. It's very hard to unsubscribe from that. I've done that to a few people.
I will say though, you're not going to get a newsletter. It's just going to be a massive picture. It's just going to be a massive page with only 2 pictures: Joe Cornish and a Cornish pastry, and then that's about it. That's going to be that every month.
Anyway, that's our tangent covered. Shall we? Let's go on to the next film that we both watched, because if this is your first time listening, we're sorry. And well, most of the time, it doesn't happen all the time, but most of the time, me and Sean pick one thing that we both watch each and talk about it. So our decision was Sean's decision, and I'll let him run through what that was. Sean, off you go.
All right. I think it was more of a suggestion. It was more of a mutual agreement. I think it was more of a, hey, Palmer, sure, Palmer, we'll make that the big podcast thing of the week or month, whatever the fuck. I'm losing time. So Palmer stars Justin Timberlake as Eddie Palmer, but everyone calls him Palmer, who has recently got out of prison for an attempted murder crime. And moves back in with his grandma, played by June Squibb, who is adorable, by the way. But
who has also been that age for about, she's looked that age maybe her whole life. I don't think I've ever not seen her look young.
I mean, I think since Nebraska, I think that was like a movie that got her more attention. She's looked relatively the same. It's crazy. But yeah, June Squibb, it plays his grandma, and Palmer stays alongside his grandma, and they have neighbors. A mother played by Juno Temple, and her son Sam, played by Ryder Allen. I think something without going into too much detail, something occurs with both parties. I'm saying, making it sound like a political.
I'll read the rather vague description that IMDb has said.
I'm getting wrapped up now. I kind of want to make a political intrigue drama called Palmer, and it's just basically just a land dispute between these two areas.
Right. So the IMDb describes Palmer as an ex-convict strikes up a friendship with a boy from a troubled home, and that's it.
It's better than whatever bullshit I was trying to describe.
To be honest, and I'm not making fun of you here, IMDb, because obviously you know what you're doing. There's certain times where you're just being a bit lazy with these plots.
True. Like you look at the description of one of the of certain movies, and they're just like go for a single paragraph about it. It's like, but more happens. Come on, more happens, dude.
But anyway, what did you think of Palmer? I'll let you say it first, and then I'll talk about what I thought.
Well, I gotta be honest. I figured I wasn't probably going to enjoy it that much because it kind of looked like one of those Oscar prestige dramas where it's all lighthearted and kind of like sappy and whatnot. But I gotta be honest, I really enjoyed it. I liked it. I thought it was pretty good. Like I think it's a very good little film. Like the movie is written by Cheryl Guerrero, and it's a very good script. Like I don't like in like regards to like all other screenplays that have ever existed. This is a pretty good one. I imagine it's like one that like everyone was very on board, was happily on board to do. Not because like not because of the aspects of like, oh, paycheck, or wow, this is gonna change the world. More in that middle part where it's like, hey, this is pretty good. We can make something good out of this. And
It's a human story rather than it being either horror or superhero in
mhm,
the world where that is basically where you have a lot of your stuff. It's a nice little story.
yeah, it's a very nice little film and I think and I think sometimes you kind of need that. Like you get people that get a bit like up in arms about certain films like Palmer, where it's like, oh, but you have to be game changing. You can't be like sappy and whatnot and trying to gun for the Oscars. And I'm sort of sitting there like, no, I just think it just wanted to it just wanted to tell a nice little story. But that's kind of about it. It's a nice little story that's very investing, I must say. I wasn't expecting to get as wrapped up into the story as I thought it was going to be, and it's just again, it has these really well written, these really well rendered out characters that you probably wouldn't expect to have that much depth to them. Like Palmer has got a lot going on, has the character, I mean, not the film. Palmer has a lot going on as a character. There's a lot like to him that's quite intriguing and kind of like fascinating. And you've got like this relationship he strikes up with this kid Sam, who, by the way, Ryder Allen is amazing. I just want to get that out of the way. Ryder Allen is incredible. I want to see more projects of Ryder Allen in them. He's very good. And just it's a very lovely relationship between these two, and they have so much like depth to them as characters. Even the Sam's mother, played by Juno Temple, has got a lot of like depth to her as a character, and Temple like
Juno
does it
Temple's
right.
she's good in whatever she does.
She's very
She seems to be minus the allegations of abuse. She seems to be a female Johnny Depp, where she can pretty
mhm.
much do whatever.
Yeah, I find I've always liked her. Like she's very underrated. I remember the first film that I saw her in was Killer Joe, the William Friedkin film with Matthew McConaughey. She was very good in that, and I think since then she's kind of been like one of the more underrated like people in my vast list of underrated actors. She's very good, and I think with I think of her being like amongst a cast of really talented like actors. Even Justin Timberlake is very good, and I don't even think he's that great an actor. Like, don't get me wrong, he's been in some movies where he's very good, but he don't compare to like certain other co-stars, like say the
Yeah,
Social Network. He's
he's
very good,
definitely
but
he's very good in what he does when he
mhm.
does it. There's sometimes where when he was in Shrek the Third, he wasn't really amazing.
Like my issue with Justin Timberlake is that, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying like all people like all pop stars like Justin Timberlake are not great at this, because you get some pop stars that are surprisingly good at like disappearing into their roles. But Justin Timberlake, with certain roles, doesn't really disappear into certain characters. He's just Justin Timberlake to me sometimes. But then with Palmer, like there'll be moments where like you're watching him, it's like, oh man, he's legitimately giving a really like a different performance compared to like what you'd think of him like giving a Justin Timberlake kind of performance. Even though there are some moments where like say there's a moment in a bar where like he's uh, beating up one of his friends for like a thing that friend did that was pretty fucking awful. He starts like punching a wall and whatnot, and it's like it kind of felt like he missed the mark on that one a little bit, because it just sounds like Justin Timberlake trying to be big and angry and gruff, but it sounds like Justin Timberlake trying to be angry and gruff, and it's like he did a good there. He did good there, mate. But come on, stick to like what you're doing before. You're quite good at being like very quiet and understated. But yeah, he's very good in the movie, and I just love that relationship that he has with the kid, where like he grows more as a person. Where he goes from like being this sort of like, oh, I'm quiet, I don't want to talk to this kid, to this sort of like this big lovable goof that I kind of just want to give a big old hug to. Like genuinely, I just want to give Palmer a hug. That's what the film is about. It's Palmer trying to love again, and you gotta give the guy a hug, and that's what I'm going to do by the end of the film.
Yeah, I've not really got. To be honest, I thought it was all right, but I thought it was a bit predictable. Like
Of
you could
course.
see where it was going. It wasn't one of
Mhm.
those ones where there was a twist in the end.
Yeah.
Not that I was expecting one, but it was
Mhm.
relatively predictable. It was still a very good story though. It's
Yeah. Like
still, as you say, all the people were really good. Even like the side characters, like his mates. that he
Mhm.
comes back to. They manage to portray what happened in the early life without actually doing stuff. Like I liked Coles, who was the son of the detective, the son of the chief,
Mhm.
who is Jesse C. Boyd. And I'll go on a little bit of tangent here, who is actually in a really good show that is produced by the company that I pay attention to every once in a
Ooh.
while called Day 5.
Oh, okay.
He was the lead character in that. And if you're unsure what Day 5 is, it is a world where they're not quite sure what happens, but one day, if you go to sleep, you die, basically. They have no idea what's happened, but you doze off, you die. And I believe there is research that says you can only go 5 days without sleep before you start to hallucinate and you start to
Mhm.
see things that you're not meant to be seeing. And the whole show revolves around that concept of Jesse C. Boyd. It's actually a little bit like Palmer, where Jesse C. Boyd he finds a kid that is also trying to stay awake, and
Mhm.
them two are basically going from. It's mostly based around Austin because Rooster Teeth is based in Austin, and that's probably the cheapest place you could film at that time, especially for an up and coming internet
Yeah.
place. But the world is very expansive. It's a very good show. I really liked it because you have people that are using different things to try and keep themselves awake. Where there are certain people that are using drugs to keep themselves awake, where they're on high on uppers, whatever drugs would do that. But you also have people who are deranged who are using pain to keep themselves awake. So you've got a guy that's like nail gunned his arm and then he's bludgeoning people with a nail gunned arm to try and
Mm.
keep himself awake because the pain keeps himself awake. Anyway, back to Palmer.
I was just gonna say, I kind of like how you just went off a different like show. There was like, hey, it's like Palmer, nail guns and whatnot. Yeah, I remember the scene where Justin Timberlake went up to like a character and tried to keep himself awake. That would have been an entirely different film.
But Palmer,
But
Palmer, anyway, Palmer is a really, it's a, I wouldn't say a must watch. It's a watch. It's
hmm,
definitely, you could watch it. You'd have a really good time. I liked, I'm gonna make sure I get her name right here. I liked the relationship between Palmer and Maggie, who is played by Alicia Wainwright. I thought she played her character very, very well.
yeah. Oh,
I
she was really
thought,
good too.
as we've covered, Juno Temple just can't do anything wrong at the moment. She was
Hmm.
in the best TV show last year, Ted Lasso, and she's a
That's true.
completely different character to who she is in that. So it just basically, if you're listening, Hollywood, and I know you
Mhm.
are, because why not? Just cast Juno Temple in more things.
Yeah.
This is the podcast within the podcast where we talk about how great Juno Temple is.
Yeah. Hold on. I'll make the message more clear for Hollywood. Hire Juno Temple, you hack. She's very good. But yeah, Palmer is like at the end of the day, Palmer is not like it's not this again, it's not this game changing like movie. It's what I describe as being a sort of like Sunday afternoon kind of film where
Yeah,
you've got
it's
nothing
not a
on.
groundbreaking movie.
Yeah, if you've got nothing else on and you have an Apple TV subscription and you see it there and it's worth a watch. And I do hope that like the writer Cheryl Guerrero goes on to write more stuff because again, this is a pretty good screenplay. Fisher Stevens did a pretty good job directing it, and regards to like the actors, I thought they were all very very good. It's a movie that like again doesn't change anything about the film industry that will rock the world and whatnot. It's a very although there are some parts that are quite intense. I was going to say it's quite breezy, but there are some parts that are quite hard to watch. It's again, it's a Sunday afternoon film where if you don't have nothing else on, watch it. It's predictable, but it's very well performed. It's a very handsome It has a very handsome production value with a very good
It's
journeyman director
definitely
at helm.
it's got an Apple budget behind it. Definitely, it looks nice.
Yeah, so give it a watch. That's it's on for me. It's like on the somewhat same level of Malcolm Marie, minus the controversial aspect of like having an opinion for yourself. It's more, yeah, give it a watch. It's pretty fun. I liked it. Well, maybe not fun, but you get what I'm trying to say.
Sorry, I am just looking at what else Cheryl has written because I'm on a first name basis with her. Um, she's written. She partially wrote alongside Anna or Batu. I apologize if you're listening, because that was a butchering of your name. She wrote something called Pledge This, which stars in the lead role Paris Hilton as Victoria English. And I might give it a shot because it looks rubbish.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, you. I think you reminded me. I definitely did look at what else she wrote, and I saw that. It's like, wow. I gotta be honest. That is quite an amazing leap. It's quite an amazing leap to go from a Paris Hilton project to writing a film for
Oh, did
Apple.
that happen? IMDb, you should be. Definitely in 2006, IMDb was trying harder. The plot for IMDb for this gets more than just 5 words. This is, in case anyone is listening, and we might tag her in this when we talk about it. A South Beach University, a beautiful sorority president takes in a group of unconventional freshman girls seeking acceptance into her house. It's reverse. What was the Anna Faris one?
Oh,
House
the
Bunny.
House Bunny. Yeah,
Yeah,
I think
it
Emma Stone
seems
was
to be
also in that one.
reverse that, which sounds awful. So if I can find it, I might give it a shot.
I've seen neither of those. All I'm probably going to say about the House Bunny is that Emma Stone's moved on to very good projects, and as regards to the other one, I don't know.
House Bunny actually has right. We'll finish Palmer and then I'll talk about House. Palmer was really good. If you've got Apple Music, if you've got Apple TV, give it a go. Apple TV is currently $4.99 a month. This is where we shill ourselves out. Apple TV, it's really good. It's fun. If you've got Apple Music, you've also actually got Apple TV for at least a year. So give it a go. Anyway, it was really
Buy
good.
app,
Give it a shot.
buy
Apple
Apple,
TVs. Give it buy Apple stocks. Buy
buy
an
Apple,
apple if you've not had
buy
an apple in
Apple.
a while. If you've
Just
not
buy
had an
Apple,
actual apple,
buy Apple,
buy some fruit.
buy
Why are you
Apple,
not eating more fruit,
buy
listener?
Apple,
Eat some more fruit,
buy
listener.
Apple,
This is what we
buy
want you to
Apple,
do.
buy Apple,
Anyway,
buy Apple, buy Apple. Okay,
I
I'll
don't know.
stop. Sorry, the ghost of Steve Jobs briefly possessed me. Although I think if I was doing a Steve,
Now I have to edit out because you said the ghost of Steve Jobs.
although if I was doing a Steve Jobs impression, it'd be more of a now send it to Apple, and we'll give you a free iMac if we have any iMacs that have been demolished yet. Have an iMac. That's not Steve
That's
Jobs.
not Steve Jobs. That's just that's vaguely American man giving away iMacs that he doesn't own.
I mean, it's like it. I mean, I don't know. I remember going to the Apple store one time in Princess Street. I remember seeing a guy. He was vaguely American, being like, "Hey, buy Apple, buy this, buy an iPhone." And I was like, "No, I don't want any apples. I prefer oranges."
Has Apple ever used the slogan "buy it"? You know how there's obviously the saying "an apple a day keeps the doctor away." Have they ever used that in a slogan?
I don't think they have, but I kind of feel like they missed out on an opportunity not
Well,
using it.
yeah, I was just thinking about that. I was like, "Buy it." I'm just trying to figure out what that slogan could be.
Yeah, I'm thinking like in terms of like Apple TV Plus. Now that they got like a bunch of celebrities that they kind of use to endorse their product, I kind of feel that you could probably get like either Mariah Carey or probably Billie Eilish. Now that they have a documentary about her coming out, where they could just stand in a dark room with a TV screens and showing all the Apple TV shows that are going to be coming up in the future, and just being like, an apple a day keeps the doctor away. Apple TV Plus. And then that's going to be the advert. It's just one of
I've
them
got
just
it.
standing
I've
in the
got it.
room.
I've got it. Sorry, I
Okay,
was silent there. I was thinking about it.
that's okay. You're trying to outdo my silly suggestion. That's fine.
I know this isn't a silly suggestion. Apple, if you're listening, this might work for you.
All right.
Everybody listening, an apple a day keeps mediocrity at bay.
Can we
Did
keep
it?
the can we
Did it?
can we keep the misspelling of it in there as well? And Apple D keeps the mediocrity away.
I think that would
Yes.
work. I think that would work.
Hmm.
Apple, give it a shot. Find someone who can speak English properly, unlike me.
Just have like footage of like Central Park overlapping. You're overlapping it. uh okay. So
Let's
we're
move
moving.
on to something else. This is a this is it's been a weird week.
Hmm.
Just this has been it's been a weird week for us. Um I moving on to me now because this show's partially about me and not all about you, Sean.
Oh,
I
what?
watched I watched season 3 of Disenchantment over the last couple of weeks, which is, speaking of that word I can't pronounce that begins with an M. It's all right.
It's mediocre.
Yeah, it's very.
Oh
You might be able to hear my nephew in the background, who is
well.
not having a good time of being a child.
I
He's
think
new to
that,
this world.
or I think that, or you probably heard you talk about Disenchantment, and it was all like, no, 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 no.
But yeah,
I just
it's
heard myself there. I was like, oh shit, you actually, oh no, the babies are rising. They're learning fast. We gotta get out of
um
here.
it's there's not really much more I can say about it. It's a very okay show.
Hmm. Like
It's interesting. It's the same rule that I always follow, where the world is very interesting, and I can't wait for them to build out the world more. And the cast is really good.
hmm.
It is, for people who don't know, it is another Matt Groening invention, but this time he's with Josh Weinstein. And it follows the story of Princess Tiabini, or Bean, as she's quoted as being called here, is annoyed at her imminent arranged marriage to Prince, whatever his name is, Mercamere. There it is. Then she meets Lucy, played by Eric Andre, is it? Yeah.
Yeah, Eric Andre.
A demon and Elfo, played by Nat Faxon. And then they go on adventures.
I love the way you
And
pronounce. I love the way you pronounce Faxon. Like, like it was. It's quite.
it's
Uh,
about it's about as interesting as it gets, I'll be honest. Because
yeah.
I'm not reading the last line, because the last line says things get rather exciting and dangerous. Not amazingly.
Thinking back to when I watched the show. Yes, I watched. I think the first two seasons, and I think after that, other shows came around. It's kind of like the same degree of Game of Thrones for me, where like I was watching it, then I got to a point where like, well, Game of Thrones, it was like other stuff happened. I wanted to get back to it, and then it ended terribly, and I was like, well, probably never again. And with Disenchantment, it kind of just got to a point where I was like, I don't feel invested. I don't feel invested in this, and I don't particularly care. And I feel like that's not really an issue that I have.
Yeah.
Like,
By all
like
means, people watching it might enjoy it a lot. And
mhm,
if you enjoy it, there's nothing that we don't hate you for it. We do a little bit,
yeah.
but we don't hate you for it.
Well, mostly
It's
Martin.
yeah, it's an interesting show. I feel that it's kind of Simpsons-esque, where they cling on to a joke a bit too long on certain occasions.
Mhm.
My own curiosity is my downfall in this, where I'm interested to see where it goes. I don't really care about the rest of it. I'm just curious about certain elements that I won't be able to say because it'll spoil it. But I think they show you in the trailer for it, so it's not much of a spoiler. There's a Futurama type world called Steamland, where there's literally like a Farnsworth in it. And if you've seen Futurama, you know that Farnsworth is the lead character's second name, which is interesting. The guest stars they get in it, they get the always great Matt Berry in it, who plays a king. You notice that my tone has completely changed from when we were talking about Palmer and other
Yeah,
stuff.
it was a lot more like I'll be like, oh my god, Palmer. Now it's like, yeah, no, we're going to Disenchantment. And I feel the same way, just because it's the kind of show where like it promotes itself as being like, oh my god, fun adventures. Then you watch and you're like, this is all right. It's like going to SeaWorld where they advertise up
The
this like amazing
most
stuff.
interesting part of Disenchantment was they did a medieval version of Rebel Rebel in their first trailer.
Yeah, that's probably about it. I mean, the only things I do recommend it are probably the voice cast because it's a very good
Oh
like
yeah, I'll read off
cast.
the voice cast. The voice cast is it's some heavy hitters. You've
Mm,
got Abby Jackson, who people might know from, I believe,
Broad City.
Broad City. Sorry, Broad Street.
That's
I
great.
think is a completely different show.
Yep.
Uh, who also, I might be mixing her up with the other member of the other member of Broad City, where I believe she was the villain in Zootopia, or was that the other woman?
No, that's Jenny Slate. I don't think Jenny Slate's not been in Broad City. Like I've not seen it, but I know who the two stars you're talking about. Abby Jackson is like in the is one of the two some in there. Broad City, and I have the name of the other one in mind, but it's escaping me, and I don't want to pronounce it terribly because
It's
we've
Alana
already.
Glazer.
There we go. I didn't want to pronounce it because we've already done that twice, and I don't want to I don't want us to go from the Walking Skull podcast to the mispronunciation podcast
No,
because we're doing.
that's our other podcast within a podcast is
Oh.
mispronunciation. But yeah, going on further with that, Abby Jackson's the lead character of Bean, who is quite good. She is a good actress. Just the material she is given is not that interesting.
Yeah, like it's weird because with someone like Matt Groening and like a really good cast, it doesn't really do anything to save it. Like, don't get me wrong, the actors are very good. You get a good joke now and again, but besides from that, especially like from the perspective of someone who's like stopped watching it after the second season, it didn't gain momentum as far as I'm concerned. It was a show that like acted like it got momentum, but never really got momentum behind it. If that makes sense.
Yeah,
Like
it's not
it's.
like because we've got, as I said before, Eric Andre's in it, and Eric Andre is very good. He plays a demon called Lucy, who
Mhm.
obviously is a derivative of Lucifer. You've got Nat Faxon, who plays Elfo, who's an elf that's a bit odd.
Mhm.
Her Bean's dad, King Zod, is played by the ever great John DiMaggio,
Hell yeah.
and the rest of them are a bit there. You will have known them, and you will be able
Mhm.
to cite where they're from. But I think the funniest character is Matt Berry, who plays a king, who plays a prince who plays Merkimer, who was going to get married to Bean, who
Mhm.
then, through an enchantment of annoying a witch, gets turned into to a pig and just sort of hangs around.
Yeah, like it just he strikes me as one of those characters who like when they had Matt Berry in there, he did a thing, and he sort of like made all the people laugh, I guess, and they were just like, hey, let's give him more of an extended role because it's Matt Berry. The guy's fucking hilarious. So keep him there. Um,
Before we go into what you watch, because there's nothing else to say about Disenchantment, to be honest.
yeah. Mhm.
And not every show we watch will really be gold. We'll still, if you want to give it a go, it's Netflix. It's whatever you're paying for Netflix at this moment in time.
Yeah.
Give it a shot. If it's not for you, there's plenty of other decent stuff. If it's not for you, watch Black Lightning on Netflix. That's a really good show. If you're in the UK, if you're not in the UK, it's on the CW.
Yeah. Watch Black Lightning or literally anything else other than Disenchantment because you might like it. I don't know, but like I say, it's a show that kind of felt like it never got off the ground, despite
Mm.
screaming at people, "Look, I'm levitating."
Yeah.
Anyway, enough of the world of Sean's famous analogies. Let's not mess around here, Martin. I've got my other movie here, and let me tell you, it's a
One more
recent
thing.
release.
One more
Oh,
thing
okay.
before I'll stop you there, just while we're on the topic of how great Matt Barry is. Did you see
Mhm.
the announcement he made? The vague announcement he made on Twitter.
I saw, I retweeted it, and I'm now kind of worried because I thought, is it going to be an audio thing? By the way, Jesus, I love Toast of London. It's like one of my favorite comedy shows ever. I got really excited about it, and I feel it's one of those things where, like, if I tell anyone else, it's going to fall on deaf ears because I think, knowing you and some other people, you're going to get some reactions. It's like, oh, cool, and some that are like, what the fuck is Toast of London? What?
Toast
Why should I
of,
get?
if you're listening, look up Toast of London. Give it a shot. I'll be honest, it has its strange moments. It is a unique humor. I'll say that, but let's just watch it for the sake of Matt Berry. I'll be
Yeah,
honest.
yeah. In fact, before I go on, instead of Disenchantment, watch Toast of London. I'm pretty sure it's on Netflix.
I believe it is. I think that's where I watched it.
Yeah, watch Toast of London instead of Disenchantment. There we go. We're going to persuade. We're going to sway you in a different direction. Watch Toast of London. It's a lot more funnier, a lot more
We're not
unique,
doing anything.
and
I still say Black Lightning. Watch Black Lightning.
well, fine. Watch one or the other. I don't care.
They're finishing it this year, and I feel like I'm losing something really good because it had its moments of being predictable, but the cast was great for Black Lightning.
Hmm.
This is our Black Lightning podcast now.
Black
This
Lightning's
is
back.
Black Lightning was a really good one. I like Cress Williams in it. I think Crondon, or however you pronounce his name, is really good in it. I might do a rewatch before the next season comes.
I
Um,
need to. I need to get back on top. I need to get back on that show just because other things that came along show wise and whatnot, and I've been distracted by other shows. But I will probably try to get back to it at some point. But it's very good. I
Yeah,
do
we'll
like
move
Black
on.
Lightning.
Right. I'll say this and then we'll move straight on to Sean's thing.
Mhm.
For people who are superhero fans, imagine Black Lightning is imagine if Luke Cage was done correctly. Right, Sean, what have you been watching?
Well, besides from that take, Luke Cage is pretty good by itself. I watched a new movie that came out recently. A lot more recent than Malcolm Marie. This one, which I'm
Came
probably
out
not.
right now. Sean watched it while we were doing this podcast.
Yeah, I was looking at the screen the entire time, and I was like, "Wow, look at all this going on! This is incredible." But no, I actually watched it recently with my dad. And so I'm sorry, I'm trying to regain words. A thing about this whole lockdown experience, ladies and gentlemen, is that when you stay inside for so long and don't meet a lot of new people, you begin to lose the basic function of speaking English. It's terrifying.
I
Anyway,
believe every episode of this show has proved that because we have not been able to speak properly at all.
I know it'll be like an archive for the future. I guess like historians look back on it and go, "This is where the kind of English began during the COVID-19 pandemic. We got to teach all these people again." Anyway, so the movie I saw was Barb and Star Go to Vista Del Mar, which is from a screenplay written by Kirsten Wiig and oh sugar, I'm going to pronounce it wrong again. Hold on, IMDb, quick save me. I'm going to get my phone back up here.
Say the name again, and I'll look it up.
Name of the movie?
Mm-hmm.
Barb and Star Go to Vista Del Mar.
Barb and Star. Got it. Right. Vamp, and I'll look up. Vamp.
All right, so Vamp.
Go, Vamp.
Oh,
Right. You
okay.
took
I'm
that
sorry.
long to vamp
I'm so.
that.
Oh no! I failed the vamp. I didn't know what that meant. Oh no!
It is written by Kirsten Wiig, who you've already mentioned, who minus maybe a handful of things is great in most things. In fact, I'm saying that I couldn't name a thing that she was bad in.
Oh.
And Annie Mumulu.
Mumulu.
Yeah.
That's a very fun name to say. Annie Mumulu. If you're listening to this, Madam Mumulu, you have a very fun name to pronounce. Okay. So anyway, Barb and Star Go to Vista Bar, written by those two, directed by Josh Greenbaum, is a movie about Barb and Star who go to Vista Del Mar, and that's all I'm going to tell you, because this movie is without hyperbole. Shit, I mispronounced again. God damn it! Without any like over. Basically, it's one of the funniest movies I've seen this year.
We got what you meant with hyperbole.
Yeah, here we go. It's one of the funniest movies I've seen this year. And if I told you the plot, like how certain things occur, I'd be robbing you of like probably one of the funniest movies that you'll see this year.
Let's play this game then. I'll read the 2 lines that lazy IMDb has given it, and you tell me whether or not it is vaguely close to what you saw, because we've had it before in the show. Listener, if you're new, go back and listen to the other ones. But we've had it before where what IMDb has written down is nothing to do with the film. Lifelong friends Barb and Star embark on the adventure of a lifetime. How many times do you think IMDb has had to write that? An adventure on the lifetime when they decide to leave their small Midwestern town for the first time ever.
Definitely close, but not like. But in terms of like the nooks and crannies, it definitely doesn't like go too much into detail, which for once kind of works out in IMDb's favor. So the movie is essentially that plot, and it's again to go into too much detail about the film's plot would be a massive disservice, because it's one of those comedies where like it's kind of like in similar in vein with like all the classic stoner comedies of like the 90s and 80s, where it's just nonsense. In fact, no, a better comparison would be Anchorman, or any other Will Ferrell comedy that's pretty good. Anyway, so it's got this like sense of humor where just a lot of stuff happens. It's basically just like Kirsten Wiig and Annie Mumolo throwing stuff at a wall and going, "Let's do this. That would be pretty funny," and it kind of works. Like, I don't think I remember laughing this hard at a movie in a very long time. And it's the sort of humor that I love, where it's just all of it is insane, all of it is kind of ridiculous, and it's just amazing. And like you have Kirsten Wiig and Annie Mumolo being absolutely hilarious, and also Jamie Dornan from 50 Shades of Grey is in it, and he steals this movie. Genuinely, this guy is amazing, and I'm annoyed that like the 50 Shades of Grey films wasted his talent because this dude is absolutely hilarious in this movie.
I
Like
don't
it's
think
just
Jamie Dornaman's that bothered about, getting the couple million for wasting his talent. I think he was pretty happy to do that.
yeah, I'm pretty sure he even said in an interview that he was kind of aware of it, and he was just like, "Yeah, I got paid whatever. I got money. I'm happy." But yeah, he's very, very good in this, and he's hilarious. And oh my god, I love them. He even has a musical number, which again we won't get into, but it's the funniest musical number I've seen in a very long time. And oh my god, I'm just thinking about it, and it feels like a fever dream. Like not in a negative sense, because you'll get people that are like, "Oh, this felt like a fever dream" in the bad way. This felt like a fever dream where it's like, I want to get back into that. I want to take whatever I was on at the time just to recapture that film, and it's just so funny. Like like every single joke is ridiculous and stupid, and it just sort of like works out very well. And it just oh god, it's just one of the funniest things that these two have that has been made. Hell, because it's from the same writing team of Bridesmaids. I got to be honest. It's probably it could just be because of my sense of humor, but I found this to be a lot more funny than Bridesmaids, just because it appealed to me. I think they appealed to my sense of humor a lot more. Nothing wrong with Bridesmaids. I thought it was okay, but oh my god, this movie is just insane. I loved how
Judging by the
insane.
cast list, it is a funny film.
Mm,
There is
like
several, even the bit parts. Like you've got anything that's got Damon Wayne Jr.'s in it is quite funny.
he's amazing in it. Like I won't give away his character, but he's oh my god, his whole character stuff is incredible. Like it's just oh he essentially plays this like really secretive guy called Barley Dunkel. He's trying to be like we're giving too much away. He tries to be like this very secretive like guy. And whenever him and Jamie Dornan meet up, he's like, "Hi, I'm Barley Dunkel. You just gave me your name. You're trying to be secretive. Damn it." And it's just it's just really hilarious.
I'll show you once we've finished recording. Judging by the picture that IMDb has put up of him, it looks quite funny.
Mm. But yeah, it's currently on like wherever you can rent a movie right now. So Amazon, Apple, PlayStation Store, wherever. And I think it's worth the price of admission. It was like $13.99. I had the price of like
How
renting it.
much? No,
You watch,
no. How
you
much?
watch,
No,
watch.
no. I'm not gonna watch it.
Okay then. I heard. It was this. That was one of the weirdest ever context things I ever heard. I'll watch. I guess I'll watch. But yeah, I loved this movie. I loved this movie, and I hope that it gets like a cult following in the future. I felt like if this got released in cinemas, if like it was okay to go out again, it probably would have like potentially not been that great of audiences because again, it's a very kind of niche comedy where just you're gonna get people who love it and find it hilarious, and you're gonna get people who just think it's stupid for the sake of being stupid. But I loved Bob and Star Go to Vista Del Mar. It's probably like I think out of the two film, I think out of the other, I think compared to Malcolm Marie and probably Palmer, this is the one I highly recommend to people. I love it so much. Just go
Can
watch
you
it,
say the title
please.
one last time slowly? Because you mixed a whole bunch of words there.
I
It
did.
sounded like you said Barb and Star fisted Lamar. I was like, who? Are we watching a completely different film?
Oh shit, that was from my private collection. No, Barb and Star go to Vista Del Mar. God damn it! I have to say it like slowly in fear of someone going, "Wait, hold on, what's it called again,
What are they
Sean?"
doing with Lamar?
I don't want to watch. I don't want to see what happens to Lamar. That sounds horrible. But I basically I recommend it, and yeah, that's about it. But Barb and Star, go to Vista Del Mar. God damn it! Now I'm looking at my writing of it. And it's like, jeez, oh no.
You can't blame your writing of it. It was you that wrote it. It's
Yeah.
not like you're reading it off of someone else.
No, I have to. I just have to blame like my excitable like fast talking because I've that's definitely happened before where I've said the wrong movie title completely wrong. People are like, wait, hold on, what's it called? It's like, oh, I have to slow down a little bit. But yeah, basically, just watch it. It's great. It's funny. Have a
And
good
if you
time.
know a guy called Lamar, fist him. He could be into it.
Martin, stop.
Give it a go. You never know what people are into nowadays. But I think
Yeah.
that's. Have you got anything else you want to talk about?
Not really. Although I am quite looking forward to like the Apple TV again shilling here. Really recently released an advert showing some of the new stuff they have coming out, and so it looks kind of interesting. But mostly looking forward to Central Park season 2. I just want to see Central Park again back in my heart and whatnot.
I'm going to
Um.
shill for a different company here. I am interested to find out what is on Disney Plus Star when it comes out,
Oh
because that
yes.
is Disney. Well, Disney partially owns or fully owns ABC. I'm not 100% sure, but
I,
basically, it's their ABC drop for Disney
mhm.
Plus, where it
And
will now be more live action stuff.
not to mention the lineup of 20th Century Fox movies over the years. Like they've also got Free Billboards and The Favorite coming out on there, which is very good. I highly recommend those two. They're very good. They've also got like Family Guy coming out, which that's going to be like my next binge after I finish my rewatch of Parks and Rec. Just because like I'm meaning to rewatch like Family Guy, but in a similar vein to The Simpsons, where I'm probably going to stop at a certain point because it just kind of stopped being great. Yeah, at least in my eyes, anyway. I don't know who still watches it and calls it great, unironically, but
If we were
you
talking
know.
about rewatches, we might do. I'm gonna, obviously, with the announcement of Final Space season 3 coming, I'm definitely gonna watch the other two again.
Well, hell yeah. I might probably do that, but I've got other stuff on the watch, and I gotta be honest, I don't want to sit through all the sad stuff again. It's really intense.
Um, but I believe that's us for this episode. Next episode, we should, in theory, have our friend Emily Beeson on.
Mm,
Obviously, with the world being how it is, it might be a bit more of an awkward thing. So at least the next episode or two, we'll
yeah.
have her on. Uh, that's about it, to be honest. You got anything else to say other than that, Sean?
Yeah. I now have massive craving for a Cornish pastry.
Your
But
internet
that's about it.
my connection left at the wrong time there. So they look like you put a massive gap in between craving and pasty. You literally were. It was really weird.
Yeah, I'll repeat it just in case. But I'm basically craving a Cornish pastry right now. That's gonna.
Yeah, I think I've got a leftover Indian that I might have. But
Oh.
shall we wrap up before we just talk more nonsense for the next half hour?
Yeah, sure. We've had like 5 minutes over time already, so we might as well wrap up. Anyway,
We
I've been.
always go 5 minutes over. We go hours over time. Um, last thoughts of the day, Sean, and then I'll say goodbye.
Last thoughts of the day. Don't do anything stupid. There we go. That's my last thoughts.
Fair enough. That has been episode 9 of Walking Skull. It's been a weird episode. We've went on a lot of tangents. I've
Mhm.
stolen jokes from podcasts, I presume. I'm pretty sure I've stolen podcast within a podcast from someone. Um, if the people who I have stolen it from want to tell me I have, I apologize.
Too late. We'll
But
claim it.
that
We'll call
is,
it pop. We'll call our running gag Podception. Too late. You can't steal anymore. We own it. We own it now. We did it.
but yeah, that has been your episode for these 2 to 3 weeks. We'll see you in another 2 to 3 weeks again. I have been Martin Walker, the walking part of Walking Skull, and Sean the Scullion, the Skull part. Will say goodbye now.
Bye. 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 Stay safe.
Sean yet again did a visual gag there for something that is
It
only
wasn't.
audio because I am lazy and I don't like video
It
editing.
wasn't even visual. I thought you were gonna stop recording, Martin. I don't know what's going on anymore.
Anyway, goodbye. We'll see you next time. Bye bye.